Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for clicking on the video. My name is Chris Wood. I'm at the National Laboratory for Advanced Microscopy, and I'm going to be giving you some updates from Mexico and how we've been working towards building a wider integration of the Mexican bioimaging community over the last year and a bit. So what has been the effects of the last year and a half? Well, in Mexico, the educational sector has been in lockdown since March 2020. That has meant that actually state schools were opened just last week, so that's been the first sort of opening up. Major universities, they're still effectively in lockdown, and research activities have been severely curtailed, with a maximum of 30 to 50% laboratory occupation, depending on the local prevailing conditions. It sort of goes up and down, and as you can see on this chart, around about that arrow, we were really excited about May, June, the infection rates were going down. We thought we were going to get back to normal, and then Delta came in. Currently, 27% of the population fully vaccinated, with a further 17% partially vaccinated. So, as you can see, it looks like we're getting over that Delta wave. So hopefully things we're getting closer to getting back to normal. But obviously, it's very difficult to know what the future holds in that sense. So this is the question that's been posed to me by Global BioImaging. How do you think the last 1.5 years have changed imaging research in our region? Well, there's been major challenges. There's been a large drop in service provision. There's just fewer funds available to do science and for the core facilities, the bioimaging core facilities to recover their funds. Remote working has been a challenge. Obviously, there's varying support at different institutions. Some of them have provided easy tools for their researchers and teachers. Others haven't been able to do that, so that's been a challenge. Science funding has been redirected for COVID mitigation funds, understandably under the circumstances. Response times have generally lengthened in terms of administrative help, purchasing, import processes, and just getting services and repairs. Everything is just taking much longer. Research development projects in core facilities and research laboratories have stalled or slowed. Hands-on training courses have basically become impossible. Face-to-face networking, which is really vital for setting up bioimaging networks, has again not been possible. It's made planning very difficult. We just don't know what's going to be happening. It's very difficult to plan. You can set up a course, think you're getting back to normal, and then you have to cancel it at the last minute because things have got bad again. So, and staff, student, and client morale has just been low. I guess there's also been opportunities been created. So a lot of the conferences and meetings worldwide have been virtualized, and that makes things much more accessible for participants from Mexico. It's just not easy to get funding for traveling to meetings from Mexico. So the fact that now virtual has helped a lot. There's been an expansion in the quantity and quality of online resources for teaching, training, and personal development. That's obviously a big bonus. It's basically forced us into thinking about virtual modalities for teaching and training, and within the facilities and also in our teaching. So that's kind of dragged us into a more modern era. Side projects have been able to receive attention. We have educational projects that probably have been received much more attention during the lockdown period. I think there's a greater realization of actually, now that we're missing so much interacting and being in face-to-face, there's a greater realization of the benefits of that, of the interaction and networking. So when we do go back to normal, I think we'll appreciate it and give it much more attention. And there's been a reallocation of attention and resources into more virtual disciplines. And so the focus has been much more on things like image processing and analysis, which is an area of great development and progress now. In that sense, we must recognize the contribution of the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. So Paul Hernandez Herrera is an imaging scientist supported by Chan Zuckerberg, and his project is advancing bioimaging core services with artificial intelligence, which will be of great benefit to the Mexican bioimaging community. So what has been going on? We've certainly been deepening and consolidating ties between Mexico and the regional bioimaging organizations, that being Bioimaging North America and Latin American Bioimaging in particular. And within Mexico, there's been an application submitted to establish multi-center coordinated training and outreach workshop programs. And that's really the first sort of program that different core facilities have been trying to get together in Mexico. So that's been a definite benefit of this process. We've been able to plan that properly and try and get it established. Next question, what are the biggest opportunities and the most important developments you see for imaging science in the next 5 years? Well, I'm not going to sit here and try and guess about techniques or guess about which areas are going to be developing. Let's talk about this a bit more generally. I think it's obvious we're going to see in the next few years a kind of an overhang from this period. There's going to be a human resource deficit. There's going to be a big gap in the availability of hands-on trained bioimaging scientists, and that's because they haven't had access to microscopes. Training courses, international training courses, national training courses aren't happening, not hands-on anyway. And there was already a demand that was increasing in that area, and that's going to be made much worse. There's going to be this overhang. So I think over the next 5 years, we just need to real coordinated international effort to fund and organize training and development resources. And there are a number of schemes already in place that are kind of on hold, and there was already a recognition of that. But I think that the importance of that is just going to be so much more extreme. I think in general terms, they're talking about sort of science and how bioimaging can fit into. I mean, the COVID response has shown the power of cooperative science planning and strategy at an international level, and integration importance to the political agenda. I don't think science has ever been closer to the political agenda, has ever been able to demonstrate its importance to sort of global to global issues. And I really think that opens the door. There's now an opportunity to push for a greater role for scientific contributions in political policy making, and I think we really need to push that home. And bioimaging, I mean, that's in general terms. In bioimaging, we all know it's a fundamentally important discipline that contributes to practically every area of life and clinical sciences. And so we need to be aggressive. We need to, the door is open now more than ever before. And I think the strategic importance of bioimaging is being increasingly recognized in development. Some countries governments have taken it under the wing and saying that it's almost too important to leave to individual researchers and individual institutions to develop. We need to get this. Bioimaging needs to be on a politically strategic development pathway, and I think we need to be aggressive in extending that as far as possible. And I have to say that the public in general have never been more engaged with scientific issues than now. But I think, and maybe a different sector of the public has never been more hostile to scientific knowledge. And this is something that's stark. I think we're all aware of this now. And I think it's critically important now to engage and build trust. It's no longer just a given that scientists are trusted in their opinions, trusted in their developments, and trusted in their advances. And we need to dedicate much more effort in that area. We can't just rely on that being a given now. So bioimaging can play a major role in public engagement and understanding, and must do so. It must actually step up to the plate and really develop its role in re-establishing that trust or building that trust, because there's been a clear polarization there. And I think we need to build those bridges, and I think bioimaging can do that. It's non-abstract. Science can be very abstract, difficult to understand. I think bioimaging can help bridge those gaps and create a greater respect and understanding again for scientific endeavor. Okay, well, that's pretty much a combination of my opinions, a combination of the opinion from taking a survey amongst the Mexican bioimaging community. I think that's where we are at the minute. Just like to take time to acknowledge all the funders of the National Laboratory for Advanced Microscopy in Mexico. There are the details of our website. There's a detail of my email address. If anyone has any doubts or wants to contact me, discuss anything that's been talked about here, then please do get in touch. And thank you very much for your attention.